Today on the podcast, I am joined in the studio by none other than Mr. Richard Whitfield. Now, what you might not know about this king amongst men is he has been providing me with a ton of help behind the scenes, and he's been a huge supporter of this podcast. And interestingly, he was instrumental in kicking this podcast in a more automotive direction when he suggested to me to bring Matthias on to the show quite a few episodes back, and that has sort of helped to really unravel a very automotive flavour. And Richard is very heavily involved in the automotive world because he spins spanners, but what you might not know is he's also one of the men behind all the Downshift events. Richard, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Mate, bloody great to have you here. We've got our beers up today,
Yeah,
so
we do.
cheers. It's a
Lochheim?
it's the end of the week. It's a Thursday. We're
Yeah, I've still got a day to go.
we're living the dream, mate. I've got a day to go too. I've got another night to go as well. But you know what? We're just making the most of it.
Well, thanks, Scott.
Mate, it's bloody good to have you here. And as I said, I wasn't joking when I said you were instrumental. You've been one of the people that has been listening to the show, even when we had no listeners. Like, you were right up there.
Yeah, episode 1.
Mate, you've been in since the start, and you've continued to provide, really helpful feedback and advice, and I've really appreciated that guidance.
Oh, thank you. Well, I listen to a lot of podcasts because I drive a lot. One of my main strengths is that I can do about 12 hours straight without stopping. So, yeah, podcast on and away I go, and stumbled on yours, and Bob's your uncle.
And Bob's your uncle, and mate, now you're here. You're on it. You're coming in to tell your story.
Yeah, it's a very short story.
Oh, turn it up, mate. What is it with all the cool people that go, I don't really have much to share? But, mate, I know that you've got some phenomenal stories with some of the things that you've done, and you've certainly been bringing up some memories of the good old days as well.
Yeah.
As we've talked about life when it used to exist on the internet in car forums.
Yeah, so I've been around the traps, if you say it that way.
A couple of times. Mate, when did you find yourself falling down this rabbit hole?
I got my license in 2002, and before that I had a 1969 Mini that I pushed out a mate's backyard and pushed it around to my house to try and repair it, and found it was more holes than Swiss cheese, so had to ditch that and started driving at school, and cars just became cars. School didn't interest me one bit. The old man's a tradesman, so straight into a trade. I went into engine rebuilding. That didn't work well because the chemicals started to react with my skin, and I can't destroy this complexion that I have. It's amazing. And so had to get some stuff done to my car, and had a word to the mechanic, and they put me on, and 20 years later, still there.
Mate, boom, still a mechanic. Not
Yeah.
still at the same place.
I have changed a couple of times,
There you
but
go.
I am back at the same place.
You're joking. So that's
No.
where you started.
That's where I started.
Now,
yeah.
I haven't double-checked this, but that's the name on the shirt?
Yes, Sherwood Automotive Services.
Get out of town. So that's where you did your
Apprenticeship for 4
Wow.
years. Yep. Started apprenticeship. Our first wage was $167 for a week's of work.
Yikes.
Yeah, couldn't buy much.
No, it's not good. My middle brother is a plumber, and I was shocked. Like, he was making, I think it was $9 an hour when he did his apprenticeship for like 4 years, and I think it went like to 10 and then 11. And I'm like, how does anybody exist on this?
Oh, you just got to do second jobs. You got to help out mates, and you just live day to day. You really can't. Good thing now is the apprenticeship board's really stepped in. You get paid a lot better now. You get a lot of big, massive tool allowance at startup, and so it's a lot better now than it was back then.
Because, mate, that was slave labour, that stuff.
So I worked 2 jobs for about 2 years until the pay got decent, and then I had to quit the other one. So I was working full days and then going, slinging chicken at KFC to 10, 11 o'clock at night, and then back to work in the morning.
But I mean, Dirty Bird's not a bad place to find yourself.
Oh yeah, it's a good gig.
Can you still eat it now? I find people go one of two ways after they've done their time at Dirty Bird.
Very rarely. I actually live around the corner from a Dirty Bird, and I don't really go there. Prefer my home cooked meal, to be honest.
See, whereas my other business partner Simon, He worked for KFC, and mate, he is obsessed. And he's obsessed to the point where he's like hacked how to order, the right thing for the right price, and then ask for the right piece to get like just the way that he loves it.
You got to get the actual. You got to get what you paid for nowadays because things have gone up. We used to have KFC right next to Pizza Hut, and you used to get a knock on the back door at 10 o'clock at night going, "Hey, we've got 2 pizzas. What do you guys got?" You just don't get that anymore.
Yeah, the sweet
no
trades.
more Sizzler discount either.
How good was Sizzler, mate? Cheese toast.
So good, $7.50 for a lunch. It was banging.
Yeah, I did hit up Toowong, one of the last, and there used to be one just here on Ipswich Road
Yes.
as well. We punished that one.
Where KFC is next to.
and the what is it? The Taco Bell?
Yeah, the Taco Bell took it over, knocked it down.
No more sizzles.
Nope.
Mate, terrible. In your apprenticeship, obviously, so you're not making bank. So you probably were you doing any car stuff of your own there, or was that just slogging it out?
I had a 1978 Gemini TD automatic. It was a great little runaround.
What a belter!
Oh yeah, it was great.
That would have been the slowest car in the universe.
It was great on grass. Let's just say that much.
Yeah, well, at least it's 3-wheel drive.
I was part of a rover crew, Tennyson rover crew. So we were doing banana bash cars. So I was doing a lot of Spanish winging on a Range Rover that was chopped down. It had a 318 Hemi in it and a 727 Torque Flight, mud tyres on the back, truck radiator, and it used to just haul.
What a banger!
Yeah. And we used to tow that to the Banana Bash every year and just have an absolute blast.
Now, Banana Bash is something I haven't heard for a while. For people listening that have no idea what you're talking about, what's going on there?
Okay, so Banana Bash is for the Rover Crew, so Scouting Association. You go through Scouts from Joeys to Cubs to Scouts to Venturers to Rovers and to the Fellowship. And so what it allows you to do is a bunch of guys pretty much running cars around a private track or a private dirt paddock, really. Just enjoying the time and getting to know what everyone's about. Like that's all it really was. Just a good time without any type of out of the side shenanigans.
Sounds bloody good.
Yeah.
So sideways in a paddock is what you're trying to tell me.
Pretty much sideways in a paddock, upside down. Everyone would name like the car was called Bruno. It physically would it would be over 7 generations. Of course, started as a Charger and went through heaps of generations. There were guys there. I think Sunnybank had Swamper, and it was 4 seats and a roll cage, and everyone gets covered in mud, and yeah, it's just an absolute blast of a weekend. And then you come back and you try and fix the car so you can go back out again.
Sounds like a bloody good time. Does that still exist?
I haven't been keeping up with the Scouts,
No.
but I do believe that they do still have it somewhere. But yeah, the last one I heard of was before COVID. There was still a Banana Bash going around. So it's something to definitely look forward to and go out again, see it again. But yeah, I don't think it's as huge as it used to be.
No, and I'm sure that gets more challenging to do those sorts of things as time goes on.
Yeah,
So-
I don't know how they got around those little insurance.
Yeah, the old
issues.
insurance and the OH&S, etc., where you got to sign your life away. That does make it a little bit harder.
Yeah.
All right, so you're banana bashing. How many years to get your trade? Is that 4 or 3?
It's a 4 year.
4 year.
So yeah, 4 years.
Long bloody 4 years.
It does. A lot of people pull out in their third. It's very, very common because they don't see it what it is. But yeah, I stick to it. I'm a little bit pig-headed in that way. I just stick to something and keep going. I don't really have a million cars. I don't really change my mind. I just one car and I keep going.
Wish I could do that.
Yeah,
My
what are you
wife
up-
would be happy.
You up to like 7 now, Scott, are you?
6. I'm trying to keep it cool.
I've only got 3.
Oh, see, that's not too bad.
Oh, one doesn't run.
One doesn't run. I've only got one that doesn't run. The rest of them work.
See, there you go.
Yeah.
You're winning.
Yeah. Well, slowly. And then did you stay on at Sherwood after that?
Yeah, stayed on. Ended up buying a Hilux because I needed to go in between 2 workshops. so I needed a work ute. That didn't stay stock for long. Got into the mini trucking boys, and it was on its guts, absolute guts. Big wheels, chrome everything, pinstriping, shaved, anything that I could do myself. I tried to do it without taking the car off the road because it's my only means of transport at that point in time. A daily is a good idea nowadays. Very good idea.
Yeah, so a reliable car that just runs is
Oh yeah, don't stuff.
quite good.
Yeah, don't stuff with your daily.
No, that's what my wife keeps telling me, but I got this itch and I'm like,
Oh, the itch is hard. Trust me.
I'm like, oh, God, I don't think you can do this and you can do that. And I'm like, oh, I don't know.
Google is not your friend.
It is not my friend, particularly when I look at things and I go, oh, you can make that a little bit faster and that a bit bigger and that a bit lower. It's a real problem.
It is. I've got that same problem with
Yeah.
my daily, and I just try
Can't
not to
help
touch
myself.
it.
No, you just
Just don't touch it.
you walk away. But mini trucking.
Yeah.
That's and what year was this? Apply some context here so we know where we're up to.
I think I was third year, fourth year, so 2005, 2006.
2005, 2006. There you go. And
So
you're in a mini truck.
Mini trucks, going to Autosalon.
Mate, they were all
Fast
the
and Furious
rage.
was out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's part of a couple of clubs.
Because you don't see mini trucks anymore. Like that's
no,
not something
there's not that many.
I haven't
they,
seen.
They
for a
pop
while.
up. They pop up, but they're not as huge as they used to be. Like
No,
you
'cause
used
that
to
was massive.
go to TAFE and you used to be like 2 or 3 trucks in the actual car park, which
Yeah.
were, oh, big one, small one, big one, small one, big one.
Because if you haven't been schooled on this, it's basically like taking a Hilux and dropping it on his guts and
That's it.
and then decking it out to make it look. Because that was really like that big sort of sex spec era where it was
Exactly
big
right.
colours, big chrome wheels.
Yep.
Everything very Fast and Furious-esque.
Very Fast and Furious-esque, yes. Yeah, it was all about low and slow, but then we found turbochargers, and that kind of changed things a little bit. I actually put a fairly big stereo in mine and competed in car audio at that point in time as well.
And see, big stereo was just compulsory. That was one of the things that I've noticed has really phased out, was that like you had to have like the fiberglass boot and the lots of subs, and that's why my ears don't work correctly these days.
I have that same issue, as well as the Ugga Duggers from the Rattle Gun.
They'll get you.
They both get me every time. But yeah, I actually had a single cab Hilux, and I'm 6 foot tall.
Right, spacious.
Yeah, not much space, no.
And how much doof did you fit in that?
Twins of everything.
Good.
Each door had two 6 inches. There's 2 10-inch subs, 2 amps, 2 TVs. It didn't have a reverse mirror because it fell off, so I had a reverse camera. And I got in a little bit of trouble about that because it was a projected image, not a reflective image. Yes. So, defect number 1,
Whoops.
and over the pits.
Whoops.
Back in that day.
See, that's fantastic though. And mate, you mentioned Autosalon. Now that's something I haven't dived into on this show. And if you missed those glory days, I mean, Hot Fours was, I would suggest, single-handedly responsible for giving that as much airtime as it got in the 90s. And then that became a cultural phenomenon.
Yeah, Hot Fours, Fast Fours.
Yeah.
Max Power magazine from Europe.
Yeah, Max Power from the UK was massive.
Definitely influenced a lot of people in this aspect at Autosalon.
Absolutely.
Thing. I think I did all up about 7 Autosalons.
Bloody hell, really?
Not really entering cars,
Yeah.
but working in them for certain products. And
So how did you end up getting into that? How did that happen?
well, being I did big stereos, and I was running in a Mecca event, which is the mobile auto event. I came in good contact with the boys down at Northfield Maruka at the time, which is now called Drive Sound, and they were building cars. So, hey, I've got a ute. Oh, we can carry stuff. Sweet, let's go. And so I remember rolling into Autosalon in 2007, 2008, I think it was, with a full custom moped on the back of my car. It was the only way to get it there. And put it off and then work the event. And that's no sleep for about 3 days in a way. Up there every day and running around like headless chicken.
Because those events were massive. And here in Brisbane, they were held at, was that Convention and Exhibition Centre at South Bank?
At South Bank.
Is what I recall.
Yep, as well as down the Gold Coast at the Gold Coast Convention Centre too.
That's right. And then Final Battle was held in Sydney. And that was, and that was sort of, they'd have these and then there'd be, was it regional?
Yeah, it is a way they did it as a regional.
Remember. Yeah.
And you had to get to a certain level and they'd pick you. So, of course, best wheels, best paint, best manufacturer, highest horsepower. They want all the big hitters there. So they just pick those boys and, you've got a ticket, get there. And a lot of guys did. I remember... I think it was HR9 on the dyno in Brisbane and just shooting a 5-inch flame out the back of it like no one's business. That's an R32 that was first R32 in the 9 seconds, I think it was. But yeah, boy, everyone stepped up their games. I ended up working for Zahir at Stylish Wheels as well. I met him before he started that. We were in a car club together called Stylish Motorsport. We were rolling around in Lancers and stuff like that, and there's me in my mini truck. And he was selling all the sec spec wheels, all the big Titans, the Jessalts, the AMEs.
AME Model Arts, mate. No car was complete without a set of those.
Yeah, that's probably what got me. Drew had a set on a my 99 WRX when I first went to Drive Sound, and I was like, oh yes, I'll have those. And I actually sort of do have a set.
Oh, have you got a set stashed?
I do. A mate of mine's got a set that I've been pestering him to sell me for a while. So I want to throw them on my Rex one day.
Yes.
Throw it back to that style look with the big chromies. That was a good day.
Well, it's coming back. I've been enjoying, because I believe you're in that group as well. There's one, the Sex Spec Memories or whatever it's called on Facebook. What's that one? I can't even think of it.
Sex Spec Memory Lane, I think it's
Sex
called.
Spec Memory Lane. And that's, that's for all us middle-aged people that are like now grown up and sensible. But we're, because people are posting like pictures of like 35mm film shots, because we're talking, pre-digital was some of this stuff.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
And they're digging out all the photos of this time.
Yeah, you can even see some of them have like Boost Cruising logos and stuff on them because there's nowhere to find them anymore.
And old school Just Dave.
Yes, Just Dave
photos. I'm trying to get Dave Reed on here, but he's the busiest man in Australia.
He is, but he needs to come on.
He
would have more stories than you could poke a stick at.
Mate, I'm hanging to get Dave.
I think you could go to like 4 hours talking to Dave easy.
Oh, dude. Well, Dave was my inspiration to like take car photos. Like he was the Dave Reed.
Well, yeah.
Like he was Just Dave, and he was
Dave at the spit,
mate. For photographers, he was the king of the internet when it came to car photography.
I remember Sunday afternoons, like you get home at like 8:30, 9 o'clock after the spit, and there would be a post on Boost or post on Cruise in Brisbane. Hey Dave, is the photos up yet? And it's like the guy's probably not even home yet.
Go give the man a second, but like.
And then Monday morning, boom, they're up.
Oh, mate, he has worked longer and harder at this game than. Yeah, just about it, and particularly in automotive photography, I don't know anyone with the longevity that he's got. From, that was I reckon 9900 or thereabouts.
It would
when
be
he got
at
started.
least then.
And then we're now in the year 2023, and mate, he's still belting it out, just day in day out.
All these photos from the drift events and the drag events. Oh.
Mate,
so good.
His archive, I can't even imagine. I mean, mate, that's got to go to the National Archives at some point. The Dave Reed collection.
They might be in the Ipswich Museum or something.
I
like
bloody
that
hope so.
Because he always gets photos in Ipswich Times and stuff like that. That's what I see.
Mate, we're putting it out there. They should name a street after him.
Yeah, maybe down near Champions Way they can just rename it.
Yeah,
Just Dave Way.
Yeah, Just Dave Way. There you go. We've done it. We've called it.
Yeah, I think Tony might get a little annoyed with that.
We'll just make the sign and put it up.
Yeah, that's fine. We got some perspex.
Nobody on those.
We can call hoods.
Yeah,
we can do it.
Yeah, we can get this sorted.
But yeah, so Dave was out at every event.
Mate, at everything. And with your mini truck, you would have been down there as well, like Sunday Spit.
Yep, Sunday Spit, Saturday.
Esplanade and...
Yeah,
because they were glorious. They were glorious times. And again, they felt like simple times where people, before car enthusiasts were broadly labelled as hoons, people would have their beanbags and their chairs and they'd go out and they'd watch
Yep.
cars lapping the Esplanade,
Yep.
and like it was just a big car show.
Yep. Or they go to the Maccas at
Mate, was it Aspley?
Aspley Maccas.
Aspley
Milton.
Milton
Milton
Macca's, Riverside Drive.
Yep. All of them. Computer Road,
All the
Airport
spots.
Drive. I think I sent you a fair few of those as a idea for your podcasts.
Mate, many stories,
Many names.
all of which we don't know anything about because that's all incriminating. So
Yes,
we
we weren't there.
We were
No.
never there. These
No.
are just things that may or may not have happened, and we have no proof.
We heard them from little birds.
Absolutely, all came out of Mexico.
Yeah. But it just blows your mind that what happened back then.
Oh man, it was such a time because again, it was a really underground movement. I mean, Fast and Furious obviously accelerated
Oh.
that movement, and it took it from a very niche.
Let's talk about the
Interest.
Australian Red Line first, because that probably tipped it off a little bit more.
Talk me through it.
The Australian Red Line, that was a movie made down in Melbourne and Sydney, and it had Holden Malou with a blower out the bonnet done by Momo, and it was all about street racing and the Australian car culture and big V8s.
Do you know? I don't know if I've seen this.
Oh, you've got to have a look it up. YouTube it. I bet you
Red
it's probably
Line.
there. Red Line.
Is that
not
90s?
the yes, not the American version. The American
Really?
version's not that good.
We're gonna have to dig this up and throw this in the show notes because this is some research.
Yeah,
Here.
yeah. That's probably what sort of started watching Fast and Furious, of course.
Yeah.
And then delved into a couple of DVDs. I have a massive DVD collection because being an apprentice, I was poor. And if I wasn't spending money on cars, I was spending money on DVDs because I can't spend money going out because going out means fuel and I'm poor. So, yeah, DVD collection was extremely extensive and, found Red Line.
What were some of your favourites from back then?
Favourites from back then.
What do you remember? Or what were you buying?
I was buying a lot of the American Hot Rodding Association videos. I was watching a lot of rides, Overhaul. Yep.
Chip Foose.
Chip Foose, yes, I got to meet him. He's a bloody great guy. A lot of the inked stuff as well. I was starting to get into tattoos, which is another story. So I was spending a lot of time in front of a TV if I wasn't out in the backyard trying to get a Gemini to run or working on a mini truck or working on, I don't know, Subaru or
Just inhaling. Yeah.
some sort of car.
Because Rory sent me a thing to Best Motoring, and it was like a showdown, and I think it was 90s. It was a YouTube clip, and it had, mate, the cars on there were just off the charts. And you sort of forget some of the stuff that was being done back then in other parts of the world, where they had, M3, GT2, Ferrari, F40, and you're just there going, whoa.
Yeah, they were doing all this crazy stuff over there. We were like in this little bubble. And that's exactly what we were. The Australian car culture was in a bubble. And we just did what we had to do, what we had in a way. So not as easy as, going down the road and getting an M3 or an M4 or, GT.
No, well, it was big Aussie muscle, and that was also, deep into the Ford v Holden days.
A lot of shops were like that.
Yeah, deep into that. And, I was part of the, milk and juice only come in 4 litres. Oh, sorry, what is it? Milk and juice only come
Milk
in
and
2
juice
litres.
only comes in 2
I
litres.
can't remember my literage. Because I could only afford a 4-cylinder car. I couldn't even dream of owning, big V8 stuff back then. But they were sort of your options was, either you had the big tough cars or you had the little 4-bangers. And, little 4-bangers by lack of dollary dues was the direction that many of us went, same as, the mini trucking and all these sorts of things, and why we were doing up Hyundai XLs into SPL cars and stuff.
Oh, yeah. My mate Chris's SPL car was pretty damn hot.
Like the SPL cars, and if you, again, don't know anything about that, you'd know more. You can explain this for us.
Sound pressure level. So pretty much try and go as loud as possible with very basic stuff. A lot of the guys go in really high end. Like, you don't go high end to sound good, you go high end to be loud, and they will play tracks at like 35 hertz or 40 hertz. They'll be in sealed boxes, they will concrete floor, they will wall cars. was a big thing back then. I don't know if it is now.
What's a war car? Is that
So take like we'll just say Hyundai. Let's say an Excel. So Mark 1 or Mark 2 Excel. You could pick them up for like probably $300 back then, and take the back seat out, and where you've got your B pillar, plywood, and not just plywood like from Bunnings it's 12 mil thick. No, plywood that's like 36 to 40 something mil thick, and then brace it, and then run it down the back, do it again, and then maybe two 18s, maybe four 15s, and about 5 amps, and then try to blow the windows out of the car. I've seen cars pop windows with like 150, 160 dB. That was, again, a big thing at Autosalon.
it was massive.
Yeah, let's have SPL races.
Whereas I'm sure it still exists in some niche somewhere, but like that was like mainstream car culture.
Oh, yeah, and all the big guys were there. Like all the car audio brands that you don't see anymore, like everyone knows Alpine and Rockford Fosgate and, I don't know, Sony. But back then, the boys used to do massive cars.
Oh,
like
mega cars.
Cadence did an ambulance with probably like at least 100 speakers in it. An ambulance. And yeah, Rockford Fosgate would have one of their thumpers or a big massive, they had a square sub, was their big thing. And yeah.
I'd forgotten about that.
Mm-hmm. And you'd put people's head against the window, and then the girls would just blow their hair everywhere just from sound pressure. Yeah. So that was another big thing of the car audio events. They are still going on. We actually at Downshift get a couple of boys to come along.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, they've still got their own little thing going, which is really cool.
That's awesome.
And they also aim for that sex spec look too. So they're like Honda Civics with fiberglass and a Droid kit on it or a Cyber kit on it.
That's awesome.
And so they're really, really cool in that way. And they're just great to look at because it is something to look at. Also at Jamboree, they still do SPL battles. So, yeah. I was more in the sound quality department, which is a little bit more boring.
Yeah, I was always about that too. I always liked trying to get it just right and, understanding a sound stage and how to make it, yeah.
Yeah, like especially coming from a movie background, watching movies nonstop, like the ability to sit in the car and have the Tyrannosaurus Rex eat the dude off the toilet. If that sounded rad and like it was right next to you, yeah, okay, this is cool.
Because that's the other thing. You'd have the TV screens in cars was silly.
Yeah, with PlayStations.
With PlayStations.
Yes, I had.
In the glove box.
Yes.
Had to be in the glove box.
Or the center console.
Oh.
Yeah, couldn't fit anything in the glove
And
box.
then you had to have another one in the boot with a bigger screen.
Yeah. Or just sit in the tray and just watch it through the TV that's in the
and
car.
And TVs in the doors, and then they ended up
TVs
putting
in the
TVs in like the exterior of
and
the
they
car.
had the TVs in the wheels. I think it was
good.
too sus. Put TVs in the wheels of their S2K.
See, it sounds stupid when you say it out loud, doesn't it? But like it was a thing.
It does, and it sounds stupid when the car catches on fire at Autosalon.
Yeah, that's also bad.
Which did happen. But at the end of the day, like,
but it was people pushing the limits.
and they were cheap back then too.
Yeah,
like
well, they
especially
were.
They weren't as quality as we have now. They were definitely a little bit pixelated. You could not tell what the video was playing, especially when they got down to like 3 and 4 inches. But like, at the end of the day, you've got a wheel that's got a TV in the center and it's playing the music video that you're listening to. That's still pretty cool.
That was wild. And there's a big part of me that still wants a molded fiberglass boot install.
Yeah.
Like with the amps sunk in, with the perspex over the top and then the lights around it, like the whole shebang.
Yeah.
I have never gotten over how much I love that stuff.
Yeah, my mate Cholo still got his Rex rolling very similar to that setup.
Because you'd probably know him from other traps. Chris Frome, when I first met him, he had R34
The 34 Skyline. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
competed against him with the Pioneer.
with the scissor doors.
Yep.
And so that was a Pioneer car.
Yep.
And he had this mad build, and I met him, and he and I worked together. And I remember getting in this car for the first time as a man in his 20s and just going, oh my God, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen in my whole life. Because he had like the scissor doors, the tan leather interior.
Yep, the gauges on the left-hand side in front of the passenger. The tweeters up high painted. He had the blue and white. Like
It was just...
you could kind of think of what Paul Walker would do to a car if he got a Pioneer. It's pretty much that.
That's what Chris did. And like, that was just...
I think that was all done by Cartoons as well down the Gold Coast. Yeah.
Because that was just a mad...
Oh, it was amazing. Like, the ability that looked like the amp sunk into the floor and the floor was deeper than it was. Yeah, they pulled that off really well. He was always a very hard competitor.
Yeah, that car just blew me away. And then to like get to drive around in that car, I thought that was so cool.
I remember him steering that at what was it down the Gold Coast at Parklands?
Down at Parklands for Stadium Drift.
Stadium Drift, was it? Yeah. And it still had the Pioneer logo, and he still had the stereo in it as well. And he was drifting
still had the bloody scissor doors, and he started drifting it.
Yeah. I only saw him a couple of weeks ago too.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a local rep in the area now.
Get out of town.
No, not getting. No, he is. I actually bought tyres that are on the Rex off him. So, yeah.
There you go.
He's still around.
Mate, I had absolutely no doubt of that.
He's another one you should get on here.
Mate, Chris would have some wonderful stories.
He would have some definite stories.
Yeah. And look, fun story, because Chris actually let me drive his R34. Like, after he'd done the V8 swap.
Yep.
He had taken it out to QR one night and invited myself and my wife along. And, mate, he actually let me steer it. So I actually got to drift his, R34.
And you don't have one now?
Again, mate, I've been pretty poor for a pretty long time.
Ford's taken over.
Starting your own business, you'd struggle to recommend it to yourself if you knew what you're actually getting yourself into. I had a Hyundai Accent at that particular point in time because that was probably the most I could afford. And that's honestly, that's why I've never gone into motorsport and stuff, because I've put everything into
Well, sometimes
this.
you have to. Like, to be able to push yourself instead of just having thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars into a car. Like, that's great to see, especially I see it now, that the young guys, and they'll come in for a service and it'll be like fairly stock, Ford Ranger or D22. And then the next time it comes into service, it's jacked up and it's got big tyres, and it's just like, listen to an old guy, don't do this.
No, it's bad.
No, it's bad. Yeah, you're never going to get your money back.
No.
And yeah, it's just not the way to do it. But to put it into a business where you grow, that is definitely much more that was an idea.
That was the thing, mate. I had to invest into the business, invest into the family. And, that's why I'm trying to live out my, teenage dreams now with, turbo Falcons and stuff, because, like, I'm so old now that I can... And those cars are also so unloved that they're now really cheap.
I can say the same thing.
Yeah. So, I'm going back in time because I'm like,
look, I would do the same. Like, if I spoke to myself at age 20, I would be telling him many things. It's like, no, do not buy that next car. Like, do not do that. Like,
oh no, you think about what you tipped into those things, because you tipped in everything you had.
Yeah,
and you didn't
100%.
have much.
100%.
I've laughed about this, that I was making like $300 a week or something, and you'd spend 287 of it.
Or you get like a little loan or something like that, and
worse.
And it's gone, and you're just like, oh no, now I got to pay it back.
Whoops. For 5 years.
Yeah, for 5 years, and you try to pay back that little bit extra, and you're like, oh, this will allow me to get a better home loan when I want a home loan, and then you just keep doing it, and you get to like 30 and be like, oh, I don't have a home yet. Okay.
Yeah. So if cars are bad, do it when you're old.
Yeah. And also, if you buy a house, usually you can have a garage.
And that's what you really need.
And that's what you need, because you can't keep a car on the street. Not a nice one.
No, not a nice one. And whatever you do, you need a shed. A big shed.
You definitely need a shed. I just turned my carport into a shed.
Did you?
Yep.
Smart man.
Yeah. Yeah, I did that very, very cheaply. Gumtree and Facebook Marketplace. It's the place to find things.
Mate, the greatest. I live on those. I really shouldn't.
I picked up a roller door for like $600.
Seriously?
Yeah, full electric panel roller door.
Bargain. Did you tell him he was dreaming?
No. It was just he just did. He built a shed. The guy, poor guy, he built the shed, and it wasn't far from my place, so I could go get it. And he built the shed, and then his wife told him he needed to turn it into a playroom for the kids.
No.
So he then spent money turning in, and he ended up with this roller door that was just sitting there, and I was just like, well, okay, I'll buy it.
Mate, the poor dude's had his dreams crushed.
Oh yeah, 100%.
But, you've done all right out of that.
Yeah, like I've turned a carport into a garage for under $3,000, so I'm very happy.
Now, we were getting onto how you got involved in Autosalon.
Yeah.
Because I'm really interested to know, because, you've come a long way in managing events, particularly the sorts of things that you do now. So you found yourself organising and basically helping to organise traders that were involved in Autosalon.
Yeah,
that was sort of the way that you found.
Yeah, I worked for a few traders.
Yeah.
So I worked for Zahir at Stylish Wheels. I worked for Drew at Drive Sound. And I helped out a couple of other different traders that were just here and there. The main thing was it's your boots on the ground a lot of the time and just sheer muscle. And also the things you don't think about, like they might spend X amount of dollars on a display, but then they've got to get everything there. And without manpower, you can't do shit. So I remember doing an event down at Gold Coast. I think it was a King of the Coast event at Parklands, drifting outside, had car audio inside, a dyno. Zahir packed the back of my truck with probably 15 to 20 rims, and we drove down and had whole display. Like it looked like he had his whole. If you don't know, Stylish Wheels is at Slacks Creek. It's really good now. Yeah, great guy. And they have a full showroom that is like the bling upon bling. Like it might not be your JDM wheels in that respect, but it's everything under the sun to make your car look kind of cool. Cool. And I bought my first 3 or 4 sets of rims from him. So, and it ended up looking like his showroom was sitting there. We had a My 99 WRX. It was a mate of mine's running 20-inch Jessalts. Back in the day, 20s were big.
Mate, they're massive.
Yeah, and then on a 98 Rex. So
because you would get like 14s, 15s, and 16s were like monster wheels, like as a factory spec. That was a big wheel. So a 20 was just absurd.
I think my 99 would have come out standard with a 16-inch, 16 or 17, and then going all the way to 20. And that's when I was like, oh, that's a little too big. And so I pulled back, and on my Rex I fitted a set of 19s, which looked great. And so we kept doing those events. We did Jamboree. The guys at Drive Sound did Maruka Car Sound did Jamboree as well. And we were doing a lot of the MCA events too. So a lot of the car audio events that would float around. We'd have them at Harry's. We'd have them at Capella Bar Autobarn, McGregor Autobarn.
Capella Bar Autobarn. That was like one of the hubs.
Yeah, Craig's.
That was massive.
Yeah, that was
for sound. They'd do big things there.
Yeah, they I know they did a really, really cool Forester there, orange and white theme, big wheels, like the works. Everything was done in house. They really, really hit the nail on the head with that car.
Yeah, they were so crazy, and they were such a wonderful way to showcase your business. Was just making something ridiculous and then taking it out to the shows.
Yeah, well, that's what the people were doing back then, because the main thing about that was you would see everything on Fast and the Furious and bits and pieces like that. And then I think you also probably had like Pimp My Ride was big back then too.
Oh man, X to the Z.
Yep. Before West Coast Customs, everyone wanted that stuff. And if you were bringing out a car, if you had a car in your showroom that was all flashy with neons and going bonkers, then everyone was like, oh, I want that.
Yeah, how influential was Pimp My Ride? Like that was, because that was early.
Yeah, early
OOs, wasn't it?
Early 2000s. Yeah. I've probably got all the DVDs somewhere. Serious Performance, Performance Imports. I've even got all of the early Ignition DVDs.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So magazine collections from like floor to ceiling. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff.
Far out. That's an impressive library.
Yeah. I could go back and find nearly any car, and it's probably sitting there somewhere.
The memories.
Oh yeah. I was happy. I was lucky to be in one. I was in the Fast Fours once.
Seriously?
I went to a car event with my Rex at the time. It was like a car wash thing, and boom, kept a photo of the car in the magazine. Similar event for Queensland Streetcar, which was a magazine I think Dave was very involved in.
He was, yeah.
They did events everywhere. So they used to do, which was really cool, and it was taking photos down at the Spit or at Broadway Car Park, and they'd post it up as like an entry to the magazine. So you'd have all these daily cars or street machines that we had back then, and oh look, that's James's car. Oh, that's and then the only mag I've been in is Sound Quality Australia, I think it's called. I had a full feature in that.
Was that in the Hilux?
On the Rex.
On the
so
Rex?
My next car, which I kind of fell into.
Of course you did.
Yeah. So the Hilux was getting a little bit too much heat. It was too low, and it was...
Did all the naughties.
Yeah. And so I put it back to stock, being I could do it myself, so I did it. And I wanted to buy an Evo. Because my mate had a CJ Lancer at the time, and he took me to a couple of Evo meets. I was like, oh, okay, these things are cool. Yeah, I want one of these. I want turbo. And so I was like, righto. A couple of mates had Rexes and Liberty wagons and stuff like that. I'm like, I can't keep up with these boys. So I'm like, oh, I'll go get an Evo. So I found one, messaged the guy, rang him, car sales like we do. Went down to buy it. I don't want to sell it now. All right. Okay, what am I going to do? So I drove into the city, and at that point in time, one of my friends was a dealer principal for Ford. And so out the front was a brand new TX RS Ford, the hot hatch things, X5, I think it is, XR5. Test drove it. It was fun, bright orange. I was like, oh, okay, cool. Now, what else you got? GTP? Oh, okay, yes, here we go.
Yeah, boy.
So I test drove that, had to take it back. Didn't fit down my driveway.
Whoops.
Yeah. I could not ask the parents hard enough to try and widen the driveway just to fit the car down.
That's sad, because those GTPs are mad.
Oh, it was a mental car. Already had a chip in it, already had an exhaust on it. Dealer principal's car, so we chipped it up a little bit. Yeah, back in the day.
That's heartbreaking. I actually saw a GTP recently. I went to look at an EL, and this dude had a GTP just mint stashed away. And I'm like, oh, dude, hang on to that.
Yeah, you don't see them too often anymore.
No way.
You don't, especially all the early ones.
Cool. They were changing hands for like 10 grand. They just ended up.
Yeah.
They were flogged and thrashed, and so they spotted a nice one.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Okay, so GTP didn't fit down the driveway.
So I took it back. And I was like, okay, what else is in? So they checked the inventory. Sitting downstairs was a 2006 WRX. I went, oh, okay. So I took it for a drive. All right, I like this. We came to a number. Okay, let's do it. So picked it up 2000, and so I'm fully qualified now. Picked it up 2008, 2007, 2008, yep, around then. And long weekend of... Easter long weekend, and boom, straight home, straight on jack stands. Oh, coilovers to go in. Nothing's changed.
Because the WRX was the king. Because the WRX that you buy now in the year 2023, mate, they're a bit bloated, and they're not what they were. But back in the 90s, 00s, the WRX was... it was a world beater. People would steal them, and they would the infamy was people would use them for ram raids and then use them as a getaway car.
Yeah, because they'd
outrun all the police cars.
Yep.
They couldn't keep up with them. And that really added to that story of, the WRX just being a badass car.
Yes.
Was seeing them being used for inappropriate purposes, so that, you had some extra hardcore points.
Oh, yeah.
When you had a WRX.
Yeah, So grabbed that, and that was a bit fun. I physically test drove a new one too, just to see if there was any difference. It was a little bit bland. And when you pop the bonnet, you want it to look like it's a performance car. You want it to look like it's going to do something. And with the 08, you pop the bonnet and you had a plastic intake manifold, and you just nah. I've worked on way too many Daihatsu Matizzas that leak water from the intake manifold because they're plastic. No, not going to touch that with a 10-foot pole. but that's just
And the
personal.
old EJ20 was a pretty engine too. Like the
Yeah, well, it's a 25.
25. Oh,
So,
the big
yeah,
boy.
the 06 came out first with the 25. So the 20 was in the 05, which is a Peanut, and mine's a Hawk.
Look out.
So yeah, you had the last of the GD shapes before they went to the G something else.
See, I'm not
GB.
as deep into Subaru world.
Oh yeah, I went through.
I can tell.
I went down that rabbit hole,
Didn't you?
So coilovers went on and went straight into the computer and was like, right, sweet. What am I going to do this long weekend? I've just got a new car. Well, I've got to take it somewhere. Found RexNet, which was an online forum back then, like Boost Cruising and Cruising Brisbane and all the others. And I went, all right, sweet. Oh, they've got a cruise this weekend. All right, I'll go on that. And so I did. And it was Lions Road to the hinterland. So, yeah, never driven the car before, like driven it maybe, 20 minutes from the valley to my place and coilovers and, yeah, straight to a cruise. And that was it. So I then got annoyed with the keypad. Like you were talking before about the most stolen vehicles. Part of the vehicle to be sold in Queensland, they put a brand alarm in them and they play up all the time. I've taken many out. And I couldn't be bothered to put this PIN code in all the time. Bugger it. So I took the car back to Drive Sound, which is Maruka Sound, and I got a Viper unit fitted.
Oh, Viper
Yes.
armed.
So, yes, we got a Viper arms unit fitted. So
Yes.
I went all out. I had the little remote with the little screen and everything.
And didn't it had something to step back or something when you walked near
Yeah,
them?
yeah. You could program
what did it say
voices, and it was like, step back, the car is armed. And it's like, step back, we will call the police.
That was the king of cool.
And a little blue light, not the red light. Mongoose had the red light, little blue lights. You knew it was a Viper. And yeah, the ability to, I looked at it more because coming from the car audio side of things, I needed certain functions. So this being the first car with electric windows that I've owned, I could do window drop. So I could physically hit a couple of buttons and the front windows would drop.
So cool.
Yeah. Or I could turn the stereo on remotely without turning the car on. So that was really, really good for car audio, especially with the car set up as a display car, which it ended up becoming once it spent 13 months in the workshop.
That escalated quickly, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. It escalated really quickly. I drove it for probably about 3 or 4 months, maybe. And then it was like, yeah, next minute, we need an upgrade. And we were aiming for Autosalon.
Yeah.
And yeah, it just never got there. The Autosalon just died.
Yeah, well, Autosalon was
It was
winding up around
Yeah,
then.
2008, 2009, 2010 was around the last years of Autosalon. It was just not getting
No, it just
the
went
numbers.
out of vogue.
Yeah.
It wasn't cool anymore, and it was still sex becking like it was 2001, and that had sort of gone, and you were heading into, because, Time Attack was just starting to get big, and like that clean look.
Yeah.
And
And Gut was bringing out like Power Cruise and stuff like that. So the drive-in events were becoming a lot more important than a stationary show. Even
Definitely.
though Autosalon did have the dancers, like Bliss and Esso played one year.
Wow.
Yeah, like I know, like you think of the Triple J
wild to
Hottest
think,
100,
yeah.
There's Bliss and Esso, and they played Autosalon.
Yeah. But Autosalon, again, that was a cultural phenomenon. That was
It was all,
top of the tree when it came to the
they had their own.
modified car
They
world.
had their own magazine.
Yeah, Autosalon magazine.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, they had their own mag. They had everything. It was pretty much. I guess they've taken that Japanese Autosalon that's still the Tokyo one that's still going and it's massive and just brought it over, and then it just didn't last as long. But it was good fun while it was there.
Man, it was bloody good while it lasted.
I remember just watching the cars, especially being in there, like being at the event, like all day for 2 days straight, and then Sunday afternoon, everyone rolling out, and everyone would just peel out in the city. And it's just like, yeah, that's cool.
It's a good day.
That's a good day. Yeah, and then it's like, oh wait, I've got to go back in and unpack and pack up, and okay, cool.
We gloss over that.
I'll get home at 10 o'clock at night.
So tell me about 13 months of modifications on the WRX. What was the plan when you started? Was it that much, or did it just keep spinning out of control?
It has spun out of control, that car. It's my forever car. It's actually my will that I get burnt in it and it gets lit up and no one else will drive it.
See, can't you have it buried? Can you be buried in it? That'd be cool.
I don't have a big enough plot. I only got a little plot.
No,
So
we
got to burn it.
Your car has been crushed into a cube.
Yeah,
You may now collect your cube.
Yeah, perfect. We'll just do that. And, just put it in a sealy bag so the juices don't come out. Is that blood or E85? It's both.
That's a nice smell. Corn.
But yes, so the previous car, the Hilux, had a full Alpine Type S system in it. So we tried to go to something a little bit more higher end. So we did a very entry level. I did a Type S unit in the Hilux. My mate Matt, his missus had a Type R system, and my mate Matt, he in his Tiburon had a Type X. So we could just show. It was very easy to show like what your levels are through the car audio, and so we ended up going to Image Dynamic in the States and getting full Image Dynamic system. So it's had 2 sets of SX65s in the front doors, 2 sets of tweeters, a single set of SX65s in the rear doors, 5 True Technology amplifiers, and 2 IDQ 10s in the rear.
Wow.
As well as the roof mount came from the Hilux before it got stripped, as well as 2 Alpine TVs in the rear, in the boot. So, yeah. And I could still get my spare tyre and fit 2 cans of beer.
Impressive.
Because this was my daily. I still didn't have another car.
That's a hell of a fit out. How did you end up deciding on that specific lineup, of equipment?
Well, the boys actually had a couple of demo cars at the time. Drew had ID Max 12s in a mini truck as well, running off a thumper with, I think it had a set of Dyne front end speakers. So quite high quality gear, and just about listening and then just going, okay, this is my price point. Because at the same time, I'm still 5 years out of my apprenticeship, so I'm not making huge coin, and so I just, it's what I could do, what I could afford.
It's wild. And so you focused heavily on that. Did you do sort of much bodywork, performance? Did you do any of the other things?
Did like dump pipe, upgraded the turbo to from a stock TD04 to a VF34, P20 rehousing, ported the rehousing, Process West intercooler, uni chip to tune it, and then was going to do injectors, was going to do a lot of other things, silicon intake and stuff like that, but just ended up once the car was like drivable, just drove it. Like I just did highway runs, did spit runs, did cruises. I ended up Brexnet actually ended up folding the forum, and we and a couple of guys I met on that page ended up sort of moulding into Rexnet Queensland, which actually ended up moulding into BrizRex, because we weren't allowed to use the name. And so I actually ended up doing quite a lot of cruise events for them. So I would do dry runs, I would set times, dates, positions where we were, I would talk to the pubs that we would stop at for drinks, and and I'd set up the whole day and have lead follow cars so no one got lost, UHF channels, what we used to do. I don't know if they still do them anymore. But
now, I've been trying to remember, what was the boost cruising UHF? I thought it was either 15 or 16.
15.
15.
Yep.
There you go. I couldn't remember.
Because it was half a 30.
Half a 30.
Mm-hmm. Don't ask me why.
No,
That's the way I remember.
Because I was trying to remember if it was 15 or 16. I couldn't recall, because when I take fellas forward driving, I go, we're going on the boost cruising channel.
Yeah.
Because obviously they all go, let's put it on 69. And I'm like, you're not the first people to think of that.
Yeah. UHFs don't go up that high unless you got a cop one.
Yeah, the new ones do. Up to channel 80 in the new days. But in the olden days where they only went to 40. I was trying to remember what the boost cruising channel was. And that was
15.
Yeah, because I had my tiny little thing.
Everyone used to have a little handhold one. They bought like JB Hi-Fi or Wow Sound.
Yeah, you just get a little cheapie, and then you could communicate through all the cars.
And you just end up talking. and you just end up talking shit.
just talking smack.
Yeah.
Because again,
Nothing
this was
else.
pre-mobile phone. This was back when an SMS cost 50 cents or whatever it was, and you'd wait till after 9 p.m. to send a text message. So you had your CBs.
This is also like the time when you had to send a text message. You have to hit 3 buttons, four times to do
get the
one
word.
letter.
Yes.
Or a word. So
And phone calls were like you were being billed by the second or whatever it was. So like it was, it'd be $10 phone call. So you were very tight with your comms. So the fact that you had something that like worked for free, and was just easy and cheap.
And this is when everyone's got an iPad now. Everyone's got an iPhone, but this is when you had a little Apple device or an MP3 player, and that was your music. So, you didn't want to disrupt that song that you're listening to by talking to someone through a Bluetooth.
And see, oh man, you've just given me the most hardcore flashbacks. I remember we had a computer in the car plugged into one of the cassette things going and like trying to, because it like pre-MP3 player, because we were doing like Winamp and ripping our own CDs and stuff. And then we had a laptop in the car to play through the stereo because, we weren't smart enough to think of anything else. But like we thought that was awesome that we had all our music on Winamp. It really whips the llama's ass.
Yep. I still have burnt DVDs of like all the probably I'd say early 00s, 2010, 2013 maybe, video clips, and I just put a DVD in, press play, and that's what I'd show at shows. Like I had it's like I hated all that music. I didn't like to listen to it, but it sounded bloody good in the stereo, so I'm in.
That's what you had to do. Here's a good one for you. I invested in a mini disc player.
You're not the only one. Yes.
Came round?
Yes.
Because they were fantastic because you had digital audio quality. I was still running it through a cassette thingamajig because this was before you had auxiliary ports and all that sort of rubbish. So I had a mini disc player going into a cassette player to play mini discs because you could burn stuff to the mini disc and have digital quality, which was like mind-blowing at the time. I couldn't believe that mini discs didn't take off. I thought they were incredible.
So going to that as well,
please.
My first Alpine fold-out head unit was $2,500, and yes, it had a pulse touch. Problem is, it didn't have Bluetooth. It didn't have anything like that, but you could actually buy a separate unit that was a mini disc player, and
I just had a big dopamine rush just thinking about that.
And I had that sitting underneath it. So you had like a little separate EQ user and a mini disc player, and so that's far back. That's a fold out screen.
Yeah, man, they were the best. Like the ones that came out, and they came out of the dash. So you pushed a button, and they mechanically come out and then flick up to like a 30-degree angle.
Yep, and then sit back in a little bit.
And the Alpine ones as well. It's actually why, like, I put Alpine in my Land Cruiser because when I was a young man, I dreamed of having Alpine gear in my car, but like that was just never going to happen.
Yeah, well,
that's why I bought it as an old man. That's literally why, because I always looked up to those cars, going, "Oh man, Alpine."
I remember seeing like a CDX 1000 or something. Fold out screen, like the first thick boy. The thick boy that looked like it had been in a
I kind of still want one.
Mercedes.
I want one in my Falcon, actually. I want like the screen because I want period correct.
Be able to find one.
Yeah, I really want period correct. Actually, would you believe it? That Falcon, I'd actually really love to do like the boot install and like fiberglass it and the amps because it's got and then do
I've seen
like
some
peak 90s.
If you want peak 90s, you put horns in the front end.
Put horns.
Yeah. So
talk me through it.
So another big thing about car audio was using physically a horn instead of a tweeter. So you have a mid-bass driver and a horn can go up higher as well as going down lower. It's a little easier to tune. And so you'd put the horn underneath the dash because it would roll up the sound.
Really? Yeah. I never got that hardcore into it.
And then you'd cut
tweeters and mids.
And then you'd cut where your speakers in the footwell usually went and try and make a bigger enclosure. So you could put like an 8 or something in there. There is some very cool stuff. If you look back in it and find like 90s car audio.
It was so cool because I actually had custom kick panels made for my Alpha so that I could fit 6-inch drivers down And I did the whole split tweeters and thing. Yeah, so I was sort of that. Like I was into it, but again, I was poor into it. So I was doing the best with what I could. And I remember I think I paid $300 to have those made.
Yeah.
And like that was the most money in the world.
Yeah. Yeah.
At that point in time.
When you get to a point where it's like, oh, we're going to cut your door card. And you're just like,
And I'm like, no, you're not.
it's
No.
like,
Nope.
okay. Yeah,
No,
let's do it.
I never got it. I still can't do that now. Would you
Yeah.
believe it? I can't bring myself to do it.
Well, the Rex has evolved since then, so it's got a little bit more in it now, a little bit higher end stuff. So
Keeps going.
keeps going. It does.
Which direction have you gone? Are you happy to share?
Yeah. Well, so after the IDs went in and the image dynamic was great, won a couple of fair few comps. I just felt like it was time to upgrade a little bit more, and already listening to Tweaked, which is the Hilux that was at Drive Sound at the time. He had Dines in the front. I was like, okay, yep, Dines. Let's do Dines. And I had started to actually get into the car audio that far that I was actually judging other events. And so I was like, okay, well, I've got to do something. So out came the IDs, and in went a set of Dine Essitars, which is the top of the range Dines. They don't have a crossover. They don't have anything like that. It's just you buy a tweeter and you buy a mid-bass driver. That is it.
Wow.
So yeah, the front end now has a single tweeter in each corner, in each kick panel, and a mid-bass and two mid-bass drivers in each door. And yeah, they go loud.
Magical.
They are very nice.
I'm sure that they're beautiful.
And then you upgrade your processor, and then it's like, okay, well, those need a little bit more power. And I was like, well, I've only got 5 amps, and I've only got room for 5 amps. Well, what have we got to do? It's like, we've got to put another amp underneath the seat. It's
So you
like,
gotta stack
okay.
it, yeah.
So yeah, I've now got a Genesis Profile 4 underneath the driver's seat to run the rear speakers, which no one can hear. So yeah.
Full commitment. I didn't realise you were so hardcore into it.
Oh yeah, it's had some serious stereo gear in that car.
That's wild.
Yeah, and it's just street driven. It's just thumping everyone. I always remember sitting in traffic in going through like Cavill or going through Milton, and the football's on, and everyone's on their horn and annoyed to the world. Put my windows up, put something on, and I'm just like, yep, I'm perfect.
Best place in the world.
I'm like, yep, I'm happy to just sit here because you can sit there and yell. You're not going to go any faster. So I'll just be happy to enjoy it.
You're there sitting there in paradise.
Oh, yeah, it was good. And then I needed power, so we stopped. So, yeah.
So that was the end of the upgrades there? That's
the end of the upgrades there. We've redesigned the boot. It's in the process of being redesigned.
Still now?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so we've redesigned the boot again.
Full commitment.
Just for
And
a
do
little bit
Do you
of
do this
ease.
yourself, or is this with a shop? Or are you?
The guys at Dry Sound do most of my
Yeah.
stuff.
Wow.
I've done a little bit. My first couple of installs were done by me, but nothing is as high end as them.
Yeah.
I'll help them sand, and I will jump in and pull it apart and hit a nail and stuff like that. But they are the masters.
Yeah, because they've really gone high end as well with a lot of their stuff, haven't they? They do
Nowadays,
really,
yeah, because again, not a lot of people are throwing 2 subs amps and are losing boot space nowadays.
Yeah.
You're not going to, like, I can't take the Rex to golf. Like, I've got nowhere to put golf clubs. So I'm screwed. I can't take it shopping because I've got nowhere to put shopping. So yeah, those are the things that people don't really think about nowadays. And there's a small number of people that still do it. But yeah.
Primarily, it's just for good sound and a lot of upgrading stuff, because I know that you get an old car and you throw an Android or Apple CarPlay stuff in, so a heap of that sort of thing.
Oh yeah.
But none of that scale to where people were putting like $30,000 into a sound system.
Oh, absolutely not. No. I'm probably one of the last people to
Still
really
playing that game.
Yeah, there's a lot that are out there, but yeah, I've stopped counting on how much I've spent.
Oh no, you just don't ask. That's
we
bad
did
manners.
add it up over the 2 cars once,
Oh, don't do
and
that.
we were just like, oh, okay, cool.
eye-watering, I'm sure.
Yeah, it wasn't. Yeah, but now that goes into a different things because we've got so many driving events here now. So you want to get out and drive your car.
And that's one of the big ones.
Yeah, so
Because that was not a thing.
no,
Like, there
you
wasn't.
had Spit and you had Broadwater Car
Correct.
Park and stuff like that.
But there was no access to track stuff like we have these
No,
days. I
not-
really don't. Like, I remember my friends buying me like a special track day thing that I got to do for like, I think it was my 21st birthday. And like, that was my first chance that I ever had to drive my car on a track. And I think it was a $300 or something day to get to do that stuff. And that was just so special.
No, I think the first time I ever had hit a track was doing a defensive driving course.
Yeah.
I was like, got my Rex. I'm like, okay, I kind of need to know how to handle this car because I've gone from a non-turbo to a turbo, and I don't want to be an idiot and put it into a power pole, which you see all on the news back then. So, Mount Cotton, that's Norwell. That's the tracks. I don't think I went out to QR until Power Cruise.
Yeah. Well, because you couldn't get on. Like, it just didn't exist. You were either a racer and you had a race car that you would trailer there, or you weren't.
Yeah.
And that was like really all that stuff catered for.
Yeah, like the V8 supercars, I remember were at Queensland Raceway. And, you go watch them for 4 or 5 hours, and then you spend 3 hours trying to get out of the car park, which was not fun.
No.
But that's how QR was back then. Now we have Happy Laps events at QR and at Lakeside.
There's stuff on every other day.
Yeah, and like the amount of stuff that's on at QR is ridiculous. Like Sharpies are...
Oh man, that dude,
Look,
he's
hustle.
going to come and chat to me as well.
I'm going to listen to that
and
for
I'm
sure.
pumped. I am pumped because he reached out to me to come to roll racing because that's on a Saturday night.
Yep.
And, it's a lot of work to get me to leave the house after dark because I'm tired and I'm old and I'm a parent. Like, it's a lot of work.
Oh, the couch is comfy, mate. Don't worry.
Mate. And, like, the back of my eyelids is, like, my favourite show to watch. And he said to me, look, come and see. I'll put your name on the door. Come and have a look. And I went, righto. I'll have, like, 10 Red Bulls and try and get myself out there.
Oh, are you sure not a mechanic?
Mate, I went out and because QR obviously is magnificent now, thanks to the work of Mr. Tony Quinn. It's a beautiful track. There were people everywhere. I don't think I've ever seen so many people at QR. The place was pumping. And then the cars.
Yeah.
And like the level of cars. Because, I've been a bit out of it for a little while. So I haven't really had my finger on the pulse. And I just didn't realise that there were like 1,500 horsepower cars, 2,000 horsepower cars. I ran into Dan Russell out there, and he does a heap of fab work now on some of the stuff that they're doing. And he said,
Is he at Spot on now?
mate, I think he does a bit with Fabulous. I think he's a bit of a gun for hire.
Yep.
But he was telling me that like they're running like 80 psi, like 80 psi, and I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Like I remember when 30 was like blow an engine apart numbers, and you're breaking 1,000 horsepower in a GDR with 35 psi. I didn't even realise we'd got to 80 psi. I didn't realise we were in that ballpark.
It's funny to think because just taking that from PSI respecting, just taking that, you think a normal turbo car is running 12 psi. No, they're not. Nowadays, like a turbo car, like a modified Evo can run 24, 25 psi.
See, I had no idea.
Yeah, exactly right. A modified Hyundai. There you go, Hyundai. They're coming up to 25 psi, 24 psi, rolling down to 20. Like, it's not a big deal anymore because we can control it.
Whereas, I'm old and I remember 6 psi was like, that was, and then if you got it up to 15, you were a gangster. For a road car.
Yeah.
I just didn't realise. And as I said,
the gauge with the bleed valve, and that was the way to do it.
Oh, because, I run my Land Cruiser at like 12 and I thought I was like, woo, because, I'd never let it go past 15 because that makes me nervous.
But some of the diesels now run into 30s.
I know.
Like, because they can.
Because they can. And as you said, the monitoring's better and it's not, just, rising reg stuff and should be right and see what happens and like, whoa, it is obviously much better control. But I just had no, the fact that he's fabricating stuff that can hold 80 psi and you're there going, what?
Oh, just by looking in the last 10 years,
Oh.
or even the last 5 years.
Bonkers.
Going from what we do with fabrication with clamps and to hold boost to what you can do now is like wiggle clamps is amazing.
It's just
No more
silly.
silicon intakes, no more silicon intakes blowing off. Like if you want to go that far, go that far.
Because that was always the thing. Yeah, you're
Yeah.
in a cooler pipe and blow off, and you go, "Why isn't it working?" It's like, "Poof." You're like, It's the blue silicon.
It won't start. Oh, okay, that's why.
Yep, that's the one. See, I remember that because I've sort of been out of it for you know 8 odd years, and you know the world has fast forwarded, and like that twin turbo Hurricane that. Where does that come out of? The boys that do, they do ridiculous stuff. The white one, it's punching 2,000 horsepower. I think it's.
I don't know what the shop is. I know the 999 boys have like 1,000 horsepower freaking RS3.
Yeah,
And like
And
they're
then the-
punching some serious numbers.
R35 GDR, I think, is punching like 1,500 horsepower.
Is that next ups?
I think so. I think that's the one. I think it's the
Might
one
be
Dan
next
works on.
ups.
Yeah, but I'm just like my head's spinning off its axis, going what? And like Sharpie's, you know, he's been really pushing all this stuff. And the other thing is like he's got all the boys out there, so all the fellas that we sort of know from around the traps, they're all out there helping, and they're on the gate. And I was out there the other day, and James Dean was on the gate. What did I go out to? I went out to Euro Day.
Yeah, that's James for sure.
Yeah, they pulled out the Carrera GT, and I was on a motorbike, and I walked up, and I'm like, he saw me, and he's like, and I went, g'day, dickhead. And then I took my face shield off, and he's like, it's you. And it's so lovely seeing all these people that, you know, we were just, you know, when we were whippersnappers, we were just sort of hanging around the outskirts.
Yeah, well,
But now, you know, we're all sort of doing bits to be reasonably instrumental in all this stuff that's going on now.
and it's not just to be instrumental, it's also just to keep the scene going.
Yeah.
And it's also because we remember how good I can't say how good it was because that was that.
Yeah.
That was just that time.
That was that moment
That was
in
that
time.
moment in time. Like you could talk to someone in their 70s or 80s,
Yeah.
and they will say
They'll talk
rock
about
and,
their time.
Rock
Yeah.
and roll in the 80s was the best.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Seeing Led Zeppelin and seeing, you know, these boys play and Akadaka live. And yeah, but rock and roll is good here now as
Absolutely.
well. So, but we want to make sure that's keep going for the younger guys. Like the guys that are
Correct.
coming in
The dudes that are coming in now,
to cars now that have seen Fast and the Furious and seen what crazy stuff they do now, but trying to go, well, I still like cars.
yeah.
Like, I need to modify my car. I need to do something. If they've got nowhere to go, then
They go and play silly buggers on the street.
yeah.
And none of us, and particularly all of us oldies, none of us want that because we know that that's bad, it's dangerous, it shines a light on the things that we do, and like that's how people hurt themselves. And
Yeah.
they hurt innocent bystanders. And
Yep.
like none of us want that.
No.
Because we've seen it go wrong, and none of us want that for anybody.
And that's why Sharpie puts on the events he puts on.
Yeah.
That's why we put on the events we put on. With
Provide
with
a safe
Downshift meets,
place.
Providing a safe place. Like I've met before working for Downshift or being part of Downshift, I met so many people, and I've met mates that are like mates for years. Last year I drove pretty much all night after work one day to Melbourne for a wedding. I met the guy through a car scene, and then I was best man at his wedding. Like, you don't find that much anymore, and they're giving them this place to meet people, to bump into. Oh, look, there's another guy with a car similar to mine. I'll go park next to him, and I'll wait till he comes back and we'll have a chat.
Go and say g'day.
Say g'day. Oh, what did you do to your rims? Oh, what body kit's that? Like, we all said that. We all said something along those lines.
Absolutely. I still do it now. I walk up to people in car parks and I'm like, I just need to tell you that I think your car is awesome.
Yeah, I've had those letters and
Yeah.
and things attached to my car and come back to the car and just there's something on my window. It's like, oh no, it's like a pizza flyer or something. It's like, this FJ is mad. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. Sweet, no worries. So yeah, I definitely understand that, and that's why I keep doing what I do.
And dead set, mate. It's, you know, and again, you're largely to thank for this. It's why I keep inviting car people on, because as I look around my network of friends are car people.
Yeah.
Like broadly speaking, they are people deeply embedded because, look, I'm obsessed with it. I always have been. I always will be. And I think there's even part of me that was like just ignoring that, going, this is all a bit silly.
Mm-hmm.
But as I've stopped and thought about it, and as I've talked to car people and I've had them on the show, I've gone like, this is it. This is the thing. This is my jam. This is what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
And what I'm really loving about this and these conversations is giving a platform and a voice to like all my friends that do cool stuff so that we can talk about the cool stuff. And then what's happening as a result is I'm seeing all these paths cross over where people might not know each other, within the 6 degrees of separation. They're at 5 degrees and I can be the extra degree that pushes them over and go, hey, you need to meet such and such because like you guys are like doing the same thing, but you're running in parallel lines. If you guys meet, this will be amazing.
Yeah.
And
well, Brisbane's very much a 6 beers of separation to begin with. It's a small town.
Crazy.
It's a small town.
And here, I'll drop some bombs from something that happened yesterday, just to give you an idea of scale of what's going on. Thanks to this little podcast, that again I have to thank you for pushing in this direction. Oh no, man, this is off the charts. So I had Ellie in here yesterday, and she was chatting to me about all the stuff she's doing with Hyundai and how she's like now the influencer, and she's going over to Goodwood next week.
It's just mind-blowing.
Which is mind-blowing. And I'm like sitting here next to her going, well, I don't know if we can be friends anymore. That's like my life goal. And you're going like as a representative. I'm like, I couldn't be more proud of you, but I'm like literally green with envy. But I said to her, one of the guests that I've had on, Michael Lyons, a dude that I met doing motorsport over in Europe with Liam.
Oh, yep.
So he's the dude who's got the historic F1s. And
I heard that one.
Caught that one? So I said to Ellie, I said, oh, look, I'll hook you up with Michael.
Yeah.
And I'll, because he's going to be at Goodwood.
He goes every year, doesn't he?
Man, he goes every year. And he's taking James Hunt's F1. And he's actually going to be punching that bad boy up the hill. And I said to Ellie, I said, look, you got to meet him. Cool dude. And he's even got a Maloo. So, like, he's my boy. And also, he's very interested in an AU Falcon. And I said to him, and I can't remember if I said this on or off the air, but I said to him, I said, if you want an AU Falcon, I'll help you track one down. I'll store it here in Australia for you. And when you want it, we'll get it over there for you.
You might need to take a 2 over.
I'll take
so he
care
has
of
a
that.
parts car.
Well, I think he needs a drift car as well. I said, you need an AU drift car if you're really going to have the Australian love. So I reached out to him after the show and, because I was setting up the intro. And he wrote back to me and he said, oh, mate, I've got a ticket for you. And I said, oh, no. I said, no. This is for Ellie. She's coming over and, Yeah. And he's like, and then I'm like, hang on. Did I just decline?
Yeah, you did.
A ticket to Goodwood. And I went and spoke to my wife. Went into the kitchen and I said to her, look, this is going to sound really dumb. Problem being, I say that to my wife a lot, and that quite often means I'm going to do something really dumb. And I said to her, would you mind if I go to the UK next week? And she looked at me and I'm like, huh? And I sort of explained to her what was unfolding in real time. And then, he and I got on a call late last night and we sort of mapped some rough plans out. And today I've booked a ticket to the UK. I'm flying to the UK like in the middle of the night on Saturday to land in there on Sunday. Yeah. He's racing in Germany and then the two of us are going to hook up on Monday. Then we're going and doing some silly car stuff on Tuesday, loading the F1 car up on the Wednesday and then going to Goodwood. And he's like, oh, and we got the transporter there as well. So like we're staying at Goodwood in the transporter.
Yeah.
And I'm like going, I can't even fathom this. And I've only booked it today.
Yeah.
So I've literally booked a flight over and I'm there going, I don't know where I'm staying. I don't know what I'm taking. I don't know what I'm doing. I have no idea how this is going to work.
You got to take the podcast off.
Dude, I'm spinning out and I messaged Ellie and I said, oh, funny story. I'll be able to introduce you to Michael in person.
Oh.
I'm coming to Goodwood.
See, that's just ticking something off the list, isn't it?
Dude. And all of this, and like this is the maddest thing. Like I can't even, I can't even believe this. I can't believe I'm going to be at Goodwood Festival of Speed next week. I
Yep.
cannot believe it. And all that has happened because of this podcast.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, which is mayhem.
It is nuts.
It is nuts. And like, just
is.
it's this serendipity that I can't even explain. Like, I have wanted to go to that event since I knew of its existence.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, as you would have as well, and anybody
Yep.
that's into vehicles, you know,
Yep.
you've watched just these
Goodwood.
mega cars
Goodwood, SEMA,
going
Tokyo
up the hill.
Autosalon.
And see, I've never been to any of them, mate. I haven't been to anything. Because, again, all of that was impossible. That was all out of my reach. It was all too much money. It was all too hard. There was no way that was going to happen.
Nothing's impossible if you're hard.
Dude. And so I've messaged him, and I'm like, I'm in. I'm coming. And I've sent him my flight details today. So he'd be, I can't remember what time of day it is over there at the moment.
I can't remember.
But
I only know US.
But man, like, what day is it today? It's Thursday.
Yeah.
I'm on a plane in like less than 48 hours going to Goodwood.
Oh, that's amazing. Jealous.
So, but again, it's because of this. Just from sitting down and talking to people, because no way in the world, you know, would any of this have happened if it wasn't for this podcast. Yeah. Like, no way in the world, because, you know, Michael and I wouldn't have been chatting, and then Ellie and I wouldn't have chatted, and then I wouldn't have gone to set that up.
Yep.
Like, this never would have occurred.
But it has.
But this crazy little car podcast thing that I'm doing here in Brisbane, like, it's crazy. It's crazy things happen. And that's sort of what I'm really excited about with all of this, is there are all these incredible people doing massive stuff behind the scenes and nobody knows about it.
Yeah.
And I want to give my friends a platform to talk about all the cool stuff we do, all the stuff we're excited about, so that hopefully we can link more people together, we can do more cool stuff, and we can do it together. Because one of the things that I say to anybody that'll listen to me, a rising tide lifts all boats.
That's true.
And when you get in and do stuff together, you can really make special things happen.
It's just like coming down to the Broadwater car park. Like, that never would have happened if people didn't just slowly understand what it was. And it can't happen again. But it's just one of those things that just constantly controlled and keep going and going and going and going.
Because we all get drawn together. We're like, there's just a thing that happens, and we can't help it, and we can't help ourselves. And I make the Godfather reference. And then they pulled me back in. And it just, you know, I can't, and I'm sure you're the same. I mean, I don't have to say I'm sure you are. You are the same. You just can't help yourself.
No, I can't.
You just need to be in it and amongst it and around it. And
like just jumping on World Time Attack and, you know, getting that ability and that that actual invite was like, oh, okay, I'm just doing my thing up here. I'm just trying to make the Brisbane car scene better and have good events and keep them regular, especially since post-COVID. Like, I've only taken over post-COVID. So I've been doing it since 2021, I think, for Matthias.
And let's back up and apply some context here as to what you're talking about. So, Downshift.
Yes, Downshift. Yeah. So, sorry. I've only been doing it for a short period of time, but I just remember going to Rockley. I remember going to Sanford. I remember going to the one they had in Wollongabba that was like in a car park. It like gave me full like JDM feels, like going up a car park and walking upstairs. And, you know, 2 days before that, I was drilling holes in the boot of my Rex to put a wing in, you know, just like, I've got to get this in before I go to this event, you know? So I just want to give other people that, like, because that's where I'm come from. So to then get a phone call and get it going, hey, by the way, you're coming to World Time Attack, aren't you? And I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, all right. When is it? It's like, oh, it's going to be in March this year. Right, okay, yep, sweet, all right. What do I need? And it's like, just do this. Okay, sweet, done. Okay. I finished work on a Thursday at 4 o'clock. Home, jumped in the FJ, picked up what I needed to pick up. I was at Western Sydney International Raceway or Eastern Creek or whatever you want to call it, 8 o'clock Friday morning, ready to rock and roll. And I was there for World Time Attack, and then drove back Sunday. So, like, it's normal for me, like, to do a drive like that, to beat an event. Like, I'll keep going and going for that amazing chance to do that and to be part of that, and to see how it all rolls and to see all the different cars. Because cars up here in Brisbane are different to Sydney, different to Melbourne. You could see the difference in styles and the way people hold each other and what they think is cool. And yeah, I'll do it again. Like, I'll do a 12-hour drive. I don't care.
Because you're going this year? Because you're all in. Because something else that people might not know is with your organisation in Downshift and all the things you do, you're also involved in the stylised show for World Time Attack Challenge, which is obviously something I've been talking about heaps recently.
Yeah, because you're excited.
Mate, I'm really excited.
And you got all the little details from Ian.
Got all the good things. We had a few little sneak previews there as well from our chat with Mr. Ian Baker.
Yes, I think the biggest thing for the styles guys is one of the things about styles is it is a show and shine. Like, it is a show and shine. So it's like an Autosalon show and shine without the lights and the indoor. It's part of the event, but it's not the main event. The guys on track are the main event, plain and simple. And those cars doing those lap times, are amazing. But for them to bring over American and Japanese cars, and for then those Americans to then say yes to being at a car event and a judge for a styles event, that's next level. Like, for us, it's next level because we've got some great people in Australia that judge cars. Like, the Street Machine Boys, amazing, and their stuff is next. That's high end. But for a show that's like World Time Attack, JDM, Euro, these are cars that are driven in the street, and they're not trailer queens.
No, they're not the work of art that you'd see at something like Summer Nats.
Exactly right. And then to have an American judges is just so cool. Like, Ryan Turk to judge someone's car, to be able to chat with him and talk to little intricacies about a certain car or something like that.
And here in Australia, to have these big name dudes that we've looked up to.
Yeah. Like, I met him back in 2013 when he just released the FGT 358 or GT 386 or the Ferrari engine in the
one that Ferrari
86.
got really upset about.
Yeah, and the one that he binned into the wall near his house.
Yeah,
that was quite funny.
No, we gloss over that.
But
that
he was just excited. And then to have Mike from Stansworks, again, someone that's just pushed the boundaries
icon
of cars in the last 10 years. Yeah, it's just, I think it really shows that these guys want to see our car scene grow, as well as want to be part of our car scene in a way. Like, yeah, I hope there's some big hitters coming out.
Mate, I've got no doubt.
Oh,
how many cars have they got for the stylised meet at Time Attack, World Time Attack?
I think it's 230.
230 of sort of the best of the best.
Best of the best, yes.
And they're coming in from up and down the East Coast primarily? Yeah, see any coming from...
East Coast, up and down East Coast, far north. I don't really do the
it's all right, I won't hold you to it.
Application part.
You can chuck an asterisk on
but,
this.
yeah, please don't quote me. But, yeah, they're all over Australia.
Wow.
All over Australia. So, yeah, there's some crazy cars.
You taking yours down, or are you...
No, it's not finished yet.
You're mainly organising. You're going to be organising and orchestrating.
I was like, I could trailer the car down because I've got to take the work truck, the FJ, which is just, a hauler.
Mate, they're a great thing.
Yeah, it is.
And see, my problem is you and I really only connected through Chop Shop Garage was how we sort of got to know each other, because I kept turning up there in my old shit boxes, which was primarily my Land Cruiser.
Your Land Cruiser and your Falcon?
I was doing a ton of work to the Land Cruiser then, because I'd sort of got it and it needed everything because it was a 500,000 kilometre car and like everything's tired after half a million Ks. So, you know, Sean and I were replacing everything, and Ches was in there helping me with all the bits and pieces. And, you know, you and I just kept running into each other because you were there all the time as well.
Was doing something for someone or you know, helping Adsy or helping Ches.
And it's hilarious because, you know, I've been
putting a meat on there or something.
I've been at many of these events that you've sort of mentioned, and, you know, I don't recall crossing paths before that. Maybe we did.
It's definitely possible. Like,
but it's hard to,
it's hard to say because especially with a group, if you're talking in a group, especially because that's a lot of the time you were talking in group context of like 8 to 9 people, you don't remember 15 people.
You don't remember every single person.
No.
But yeah, we got to know each other at, you know, Ches built this, you know, wonderful thing. And you know, it closed under very unfortunate circumstances.
Yeah, big time.
You know, the building was closed and, the building was sold and, you know, new people moved in and the whole thing was very untidy for him. And it's been very sad watching him go through, you know, that's been very difficult because what he built was really special. You know, I really thought that, you know, what he had there and the fact, you know, we had the Sunday meets and the barbecues.
Yeah,
and
barbecues, the Sunday meets, the events for like Volkswagen, the events for Honda, the events for Subaru, the Mazda guys. You know. Yeah. And then most of the time, like, being how Ches and most of us were, like, you know, if you're out cruising on a Saturday night at, you know, 9 o'clock, you knew you could pop through that and there's probably someone still working.
You could swing by and the doors would be open and the lights would be on and, you know, it was just in East Brisbane there. And it was just so cool because, like, all your friends were always there. And it was like the, you know, I think of the, like, Fast and the Furious scene when they're in the backyard and they're doing the chicken and they got all the cool cars out the front.
Yes.
Like, to me, that's what Chop Shop was.
I always thought it was like from number 3 from Tokyo Drift, where they rolled in and everyone had like little hidey holes to sleep in and someone was playing cards. Like, that's how it felt to me because you could always just, if you wanted to just go there and chill, you just go there and chill. But 80% of the time I rocked up and was like, oh, I'm just coming here to chill. And it's like, this person's car's like, this isn't working or this isn't working. Can we just, and it's like, okay, yeah. Yeah,
and people would jump in together.
That's fine.
And that was the cool part, was you had all these people there that knew their way around, and people would go, "Oh yeah, man, I can help you with that," or they'd go, "Oh, such and such, he's real good at these. Can you come and have a look?"
Yep.
And that was one of the, like, that community that he built because he had the room there as well. And, like, my boy used to come and hang out.
Yeah, he used to play video games.
Yeah, he'd play video games in the chill room while Dad was trying to do stuff on the dirty old Land Cruiser, and nothing ever fit and nothing ever worked. It was just a special. Yeah, it was a special place, and I'd love to see something like that get off the ground, you know, again. Yeah. I'd love to see that, you know, and see something like that work because that community space, that community car space is something that, you know, I really cherished.
It was like a clubhouse.
It was a clubhouse.
Because, like, you know, your Beatniks and your Hot Rod Association, they all have their certain clubhouse. Eliminators have the clubhouse. It was like that, but it was not a branded clubhouse. It was anyone.
Yeah, it was our place, and it didn't matter what you drove. No. You could have anything, you know, and it was just cool because it was just you liked working on your car and everybody else liked cars and liked working on cars and, like, the end. And that was
it.
And that was how I got to know sort of a whole other group of people. And, like, you know, Sean, who I met through there, who is now... He looks after my fleet.
Yeah.
And I even took him before I bought the EL, and I said to him, Sean, I need you to come and have a look at this because I'm really thinking about buying this car, and this car is going to be your problem. So I'd prefer that you look at it first before I make it your problem. And that friendship came about, you know, through what Ches built.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like,
and I'm so grateful to him for that.
It's all about places to meet. And that's what I keep getting back to. And that's why I keep doing what I do. Is because I'm giving people places to meet. Like, you might not think back that it is that special when you're there. But when it's gone, or when that person is on the other side of the world or down in Melbourne, those times you go back on, oh, I remember when we did that. I remember when I lost my hat hanging out my window taking photos, you know. Oh, I remember, you know, running down the back of this place.
You really miss it.
Yeah, you do.
And you miss the people and the camaraderie.
And that's why I think Downshift is one of those things that has to just keep going. And, you know, with everything that comes with it, the good and the bad, like everything in life, you just have to, there's a place for it here in Brisbane.
And I think so too. I think that Downshift and what, you know, you guys have done, I think it is wonderful. I think it is wonderful because it strikes me as like the feeder program, you know, for kids that are getting, you know, getting into the scene, getting their first car, maybe their first set of wheels, or maybe just a stock car, maybe just the runabout, like, you know, the little runabouts that I had, you know, my little Hyundai or whatever. You can still take that.
Yeah,
and
100%.
And nobody will make fun of you.
No.
And if they do, they're a dick.
Yeah. Like, plain and simple, it's just, like, we get families rock up. And it's not because the mum wants to be there or the dad wants to be there. It's because the two kids that are, you know, 16 or 15 and a half that can't drive yet, but they want to see cool cars.
They want to see cool cars. The same as us going to Autosalon, dreaming of, like me dreaming about having Alpine gear.
Yeah, exactly right. Like, you want to see cool cars, but they might not see, they might not see a Ferrari or a Lamborghini or something that's worth $500,000. But they see something that's attainable. They might see a Honda Civic. They might see an S chassis, or they might see a Nissan Patrol and go, oh, I'd love one of those. Look at that big monster truck.
How cool's that?
That's great, you know. And we have everything. Like, we have food, we have vendors, and we try to get. And also, one thing I've really tried for this, like the last couple of years, is to get vendors to meet the people they sell to, because you can buy everything on the internet nowadays. And a lot of our vendors are great, and they're amazing. Like Five Dimes, Drift Kitty, Street Soul, Shirts My Way. All those boys and girls are fantastic. But if then you can buy off the internet, but if you want to actually meet the person that made it, meet the person that designed it, that's different. And I think that gives them a connection to the people that they sell to. In that way, like the event on Friday, we've got Jamboree coming. They're bringing out.
So is this like Friday as in tomorrow?
Tomorrow, yes. I will be doing 26,000 steps tomorrow.
Holy crap. So where's Downshift tomorrow?
Beenleigh.
At Beenleigh. And this is Beenleigh Showgrounds.
At 7:30.
At 7:30 p.m. Because this show will be out tonight. No. I'm going to punch this one out.
You're going to punch it out?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's going to be probably a pretty big one. Beenleigh is always a pretty big one for us.
What sort of numbers do you get there? I know they're big, but let's get it from the horse's mouth.
Anywhere between 1,200 and 1,400 cars.
Wow.
So, yeah, we can fill everything pretty easily. We have Jamboree coming this year too, because, of course, their event's coming up in August.
And what a wonderful way to promote it.
Yeah, and they're going to have a full-on blown like drag car there, a big rig.
Hell yeah.
They're going to have like a more of a street car that's only just been finished. So it's sort of like an unveil of that little car. It's not a little car. I can tell you that much. It's definitely not a little car. It's a bright one. So she's bringing that along. So that's really good. The promo girls are going to be there too, handing out flyers and stuff like that. And I think they're actually giving away some tickets. So that'll be interesting. And Jamboree is, again, one of those events every year it's worth going to.
Well, Jamboree stood the test of time, hasn't it?
100%.
And it has evolved where other things have fallen behind. Jamboree kept finding a way.
Yep.
And that's Ray Box, isn't it?
100% Ray.
That's all him.
Ray stepped down at the moment.
Has he?
Yeah, he stepped back, but Ray was the founder. It started as Volkswagens.
Correct.
The Volkswagens and Hot Fours, so little NA4s.
And it was 90s, wasn't it?
Yes.
Like early.
Yes, it's been going for like 20-something years or more. It's ridiculous. I go nearly every year. I used to get a corporate box because I like the aircon. I'm old now, so I'd like to get the aircon. We've gotten a couple of photos into the Ipswich Rag, thanks from Dave, with our nice little Christmas tree of beverages. But yeah, it's an event to keep seeing. Like they've done everything there. They've first, six, second cars. Like there's the big races. Everyone's a big hitter there. No one is. No one's small. And it's a great event. everything on the Babe Comp, of course. There's SPL, like I keep saying, the Trader Alley. Yeah.
Because
Really good.
Jamboree, if you don't know what we're talking about, is an event that's held at Willowbank Drag Strip
Yep.
at the raceway there. And it is sport compact drag racing, if
Yes.
I recall correctly.
Yeah, hot fours, fast fours, Jamboree.
Yeah.
Fours and rotaries.
And rotaries.
Yeah, big time.
Hot fours and rotaries.
Yes.
So it's
Yeah.
pretty hard to go wrong with that.
Yeah, it's very difficult. Like I think last year they had like one guy who had a all-wheel drive 1,000 horsepower Honda Civic. It was just mental, absolutely mental.
That's just silly.
And then the
amazing.
top guys in the rotary class and of course the J class, your 1JZ, 2JZ, that type of guys, they're well deep into the sixes, like 400 meters, and they're passing that in the 6 to 5s. That's fast. Like go back 10 years or longer, and the only people you'd see in that would be a Top Fuel.
Oh, yeah, there was nothing that could go
There's
that
nothing
quick.
nowhere. So it's amazing to see what they're doing now.
Well, a legendary car would be cracking into the 9s. Like if you could get a 9.
Oh yeah, yeah. Like
nine,
as a street
nine.
car, you always want to try and build a car that hits the 9s, because the biggest thing about it is like, oh, you've run a 9-second and you get a little tap on the shoulder and you're like, please don't come back.
You're no longer welcome
Yes.
until you get a parachute
Or a cage.
and a cage and all the things.
Yeah.
And that is much like the infamous WRXs, to be banned from the drag strip
Yes.
is
It's-
about as cool as it gets.
Yes. When you can sit there and you can drive a street registered car to and from the track and run 9s, yeah, you're kind of like, yep, I'm good.
That's that's the big kid stuff.
But then the big kids nowadays are into the 7s and 8s.
It is,
It's just
yes.
ridiculous.
It's so fast and it's so crazy where all that's gone to. I actually can't fathom any of that. I'll be honest.
Well,
with
I
you.
can't. Like, I've driven some fast cars before, but like, I can't fathom that. Like, I think at one stage I had an Android license to run 8-9, and yeah, that's about it.
See, my old Alfa Romeo that I owned for 11 or 12 years, I took it down the drag strip and I think it did a 15.
Well, that's faster than my FJ. It does the
Yeah.
17.
I can't believe you've taken the FJ down.
Yeah, I've taken the FJ.
Did you do one of those diesel nights or something? No,
No, it's petrol.
FJs are all petrol. Sorry,
Yep.
I forgot. They broke.
Yep.
Do you know, that's the worst thing that those FJs did.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Another buddy of mine's got the petrol one and like black on black.
Yeah.
Gangster brings it on our trips. They are an amazing car.
They go everywhere.
They are a great car, but they didn't come out in a diesel.
I've upset so many people.
Sad
Yeah.
that they didn't come in a diesel. But
Yeah.
they're amazing.
Yeah, well, we got the Prado, and that's the diesel version. So plain and simple, Toyota can't do both. They do come out in diesel in Malaysia.
Do they really?
Yeah.
Can you import those? Is there some funky?
Oh, probably,
Get a half cut,
maybe.
fix
But
them.
I
Couldn't be
I
bothered.
think if I remember correctly, I did measure up at one stage thinking a V8 out of the 79 series might fit, because it's about 74 inches square. So, yeah. But I do know an LS does fit as well.
Well, mate, LS the world.
Yes.
They'll fit in everything.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
That's the way to do it.
With a hammer.
You always have to. Oh, even if you put a CDO 9 into an S chassis, you still got to hit the firewall. You still got to hit it with a hammer. Shit don't fit, even though it's Nissan and Nissan. So yeah, know that very well.
You've played that game before.
Yes. So, as I was saying, like, Jamboree is great, and it's great to have them support us as Downshift and have them there at the night. I'm hoping they can start up a couple of drag cars and give them a bit of a boot, but we'll see.
One of the other things that you mentioned is how Downshift is a family-friendly event.
100%.
You know, you can come by yourself, mum, dad, and the kids.
Yep.
It's not something where people are rude or inappropriate or doing dumb things.
No.
It is a family-friendly event.
Yep.
And despite what a current affair tells you, you know, these are not, you know, the
Antisocial?
the antisocial hoons of the universe.
No.
They're just big old derps like you and me
I
that
don't-
just love their cars.
I don't think I've ever actually met a current affair antisocial hoon. Like, I don't think I've ever met someone like that.
They
Like,
all live in Mexico and drive AU Falcons.
like, if they do, then righto. But every single hoon or car enthusiast that I've met, they don't want anything other than to hang with friends, meet people, enjoy what they do.
And talk trash about cars.
Talk trash about cars, modify cars, try to fix a car when it's broken down on the side of the road.
And just endlessly discuss what might fit in what and why they
Yeah.
should have done this and why this didn't work.
What motor is best.
and why AME Model Arts should be, the tire, the wheel choice for 2024.
Nah, they're teddy bears, mate.
Oh, I saw it. I saw a set of teddy bears on. Oh,
I want them.
oh, are you hunting those?
I kind of would like a pair for the Polo.
Have you
for the
reached
daily.
out for those? If you've seen the ones that are currently advertised?
I think I have.
Yeah, boy.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd love a set of teddy bears on the Polo.
Because they're a tidy looking set. I found those the other day when I was scrolling things for sale.
Make sure you send me those ones and make sure we're thinking
Make
about
sure
the
they're.
same ones.
I'm pretty sure I saved them.
Yeah. But yeah, it's just one of those things. I know there's a brand out there that do koalas as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it's like a koala setup, same as a teddy bear. It's an Australian company. So you could do koala on one side, teddy bear on the other.
That's amazing.
But yeah, I'm trying to keep the daily. And remember, we come back to that. Daily is daily. Don't modify the daily.
But then, no. What you do is you modify it and then you buy another daily.
No.
Such is the cycle of modification.
I've already got the car that doesn't run. I've already got the tow car. I've already got the daily. I'm good. I've got the trailer.
You need a ute. They're good.
I do need a ute, and I am saving for a K truck.
Yeah. Yeah?
Yeah, I
Oh, stop it. What
I
are you
want a
gonna-
Subaru Samba.
Really?
Yeah, 1997 to 99, around that age.
Are you going to put a hub booster in it? Like, what's the
No,
plan,
no,
mate?
because the Samba actually comes out standard with a 660 4-cylinder,
Really?
not a 3-cylinder. So, and
get
also
big
the
quicker.
motor is very similar to the Subaru RX, which is
Really?
their key car, which actually comes out supercharged.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So what you're telling me is you can still make it go whoosh.
Well, if it's Subaru, I'm guessing it's like a WRX, isn't it? So parts just swap over. I'm guessing.
Yeah. See, I've played that game before too.
Yes, I have too.
Yeah, and then that game punches you in the face when they go. Did you know that they changed the casting between ED and EL, and at the bottom the motor's different to the top, and it's actually the EL is the AD is the AU?
Oh,
And I'm
yes, I remember that one.
that's the reason that car's still not running.
Yes.
Was I still remember saying to Chairs, I'm like, mate, we can swap this engine in a day. That'd
Yeah,
be easy,
I remember
mate.
that. I remember that post. I was like,
we'll pull it out,
swap it
pull
in a day.
mate.
Yeah, put it in. We're good. Nope.
Oh man, when I tried to swap the accessories across, and I'm like, whoa.
Something don't line up here.
And then, was why does this not work? And then discovering that the late EL was actually an AU cast lower. And you're like, crap. So this isn't all going to bolt in.
Yeah, and then you've got to find that 1 year make and model.
Oh, man. And do you know what really killed me is you go to Repco and you go, oh, I need the bit. And they go, what's the rego? And I'm like,
It's not registered.
well, look, it's registered, but what it's registered isn't what's in it. And like they cannot compute. And I'm like, no, I just need this part for
We
this.
do that with Subarus too.
Yeah.
So I used to borrow my mate's STI VIN number when I wanted STI parts.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's the trick.
Yeah, that's it. You just got to think outside.
I have heard that.
Car sales is your friend.
I see, said the blind man to the deaf dog. Yeah. See, we learn things here.
We do.
We don't encourage or condone anything.
No. This is not advice.
No, this disclaimer continues on and on and on in this show. If you do the things that we suggest, you're probably a bit silly, so don't.
Yeah, I would definitely.
Strongly sympathise with that. I can't believe you're running this event tomorrow.
Yeah.
Because how many people do you have on the team, helping you to run
10.
these events? So you got 10 people.
About 10.
So you're managing 10 people. You got how many traders?
At last count, I think I have 8 or 9.
Wow. So
And 3 food trucks and a coffee truck.
and you do these once a month,
Once a month.
every month.
Trying to.
Downshift meet.
Trying to.
Crazy town.
Yep. And we change venues.
So that you take it north. Because what are the other venues you do?
We do Carrara Market, as well as we've done in past we've done Sanford, we've done Rockley, we've done a bunch of different small events, but we did Caboolture Showground, which was a little annoyed because we got hit by a big, massive hit of rain, and it just soured the event.
That takes the fun out of it.
Yeah, it was really bad.
Pretty hard to run a car show outside when it's raining.
It was perfect. And then it just dumped for about 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and then stopped. And then sun came out, perfect photos. Photogenic
been
place.
magic.
It was perfect. Problem is everyone had already bailed. And it's just like, I feel sorry for the people too, because they've gone out of their way to
Totally.
get
Massive
a car
effort.
together, get there. They're ready for an afternoon, and yeah.
Boo.
Down in the dumps. Boo. And then to the pub to wallow souls.
But we persist. Such
Yeah,
is the
we
joy
do.
of live events. Because I had the same conversation with Ian from World Time
Mm-hmm.
Attack, and he said, we're at the mercy of the weather.
We are.
When you run big outdoor events, and his is really scary because he only does one a year, but rain will make or break your attendance
100%.
at these sort of things. And
100%.
so, you try and set it up in a time of year that is
And coming up to an event,
historically.
if it's raining or if there's something going on,
Yeah,
you're
throw.
juggling multiple inputs from people and from information. And yeah, I've had to physically move events a couple of times, which again, is just
And
unlucky.
what time does it kick off? Because I feel like I really probably should bring something.
It's 7 p.m.'s kickoff.
7
but we
p.m.
usually get people coming in around about 6:30 to 6:45
To secure
and we
that
just
park.
try to secure their park, and we just try to get as many people off the road as possible so they can enjoy the event. And yeah,
And it's
try our best.
awesome. It is awesome. And the fact that you're out there, bringing, you got decades of experience in this. And it's so funny, learning your story now and sort of seeing how all the parts link together. Because I was like, how the hell are you running, downshift events now? Because I didn't, you were a dude that I met spinning spanners at Chop Shop.
I was chopping roofs.
Yeah.
Stuff off the top of cars.
Totally. You're just in there doing that. And then you're like, oh, yeah, and I also do this. Oh, and I do this. And I do this. And I'm like, what?
Well, it's 24 hours in a day, isn't there?
Mate, there's plenty of hours in a day.
And there's this little can called Red Bull that really helps.
I was actually punching one of those on the way in here. So, mate, we've been gas bagging for near on 2 hours now. You've got an event to run.
Yeah.
And would you believe it? I've got to go and see Sean because we're playing cars tonight.
Oh, you are. Ooh, exciting.
Yeah, and it's not even my car. I'm actually having my neighbour with his car.
Oh, see, I do that too.
Yeah, spun off the planet here.
Yeah, I'm hopefully spinning some spanners on the Rex this weekend.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And then my buddy, if you know Sean, I'll say his surname wrong, Malaga. I've really got to check with him how to say his
Yeah,
surname.
it's a bit of a weird one. I just call him Sean.
Sean, who has lived overseas for a lot of years now. So he's the man that actually taught me post-production for photos.
Oh, yeah.
Because James Payne at Osgarage, he ran
I
post-production
think my photo
workshops.
is at Osgarage. There used to be a Blue WRX big poster at Osgarage.
Get out.
On a board or
Yeah.
something with a background. Yeah, that's my Rex.
Get out.
Yeah, I did a photo night with a bunch of photographers, and mate
And they took photos of your car?
mate's just like, bring your car along. I'm like, okay.
And see, that would have been back when. So there was an SE Queensland photographers
2010-ish?
group. Yeah, that was really pumping back then for a lot of years, and then we all got old and stopped doing all of that.
Yep.
But so Sean taught me Lightroom because Lightroom didn't exist when I started taking photos. So I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed. It took me like 2 years to learn Lightroom, and I every time James Payne ran one of these courses, I came along and paid my money and kept learning. And I kept saying to Sean, I said, look, I'm a terrible student, but I'm very persistent.
Yep.
I will get there.
And like a dog, it will sink in
It'll
soon.
get there, but I'm
They're
like
just gonna take a while.
Yeah, the old brain not real good. He's back in Australia because he had his Scout and he was like doing mad stuff with his old Scout over in the States. He's back in town and he's actually driving into Brisbane tonight. So I'm trying to G up with him as well because he is also very interested in more forward driving and car shenanigans. And I haven't seen him since he got back. But when I was in New York a couple of years back, I caught up with him and we were sort of basketball game and doing all the cool things over in the States with him. And I've just been hanging to, my car people. These are all my car people.
Get them back.
Get them back, get them into the next thing and get them onto the next, stage of the adventure.
That's exactly right.
But Richard, thank you, mate, for giving me the time thank you for your support behind the scenes of this podcast. Because as I said, you've been a huge supporter of what I've been doing here.
I'll keep sending you people.
And mate, I'm really grateful. I'm really grateful for that kind of support, because quite often people look at the things I do and they go, that's very odd. Whereas, not once have you said that. You're like, mate, this is great. Hey, have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? Have you spoken to them? And I'm like, oh, that's a good idea. I'll do that. And that was why I really wanted to get you on here. Because, you've been instrumental in the direction of this, whether or not you realise it.
Oh, well, I just like to listen to podcasts. Like, I'm happy to help.
Oh, I know.
That's what I've always done.
And that's the thing, mate. You're always happy to help. You're always out there lending a hand, and you're getting in and doing it. And that's the sort of attitude that I think needs to be celebrated far and wide.
I think that's the Australian attitude to be seen.
I think so too, where you get in and help each other.
Get in and go.
Not this tall poppy bullshit. No. We're going to flush that down the toilet. A rising tide lifts all boats. We work together and we do cool stuff together.
Time to build more.
Yeah, man. Like, really is. And look, if people want to follow you, how can they follow you around the internet? Are you prolific or not really?
Prolific. I've got a couple of Instagrams. I've got Brizzy_beer here. Brizzy_beer_ here, which is my hand with a tattoo, and it's just a bunch of beers. Or I've got Fridge on Instagram as well, which is just me posting about Downshift pretty much.
Nice.
It's a bit boring.
And for people who want to get along to Downshift or find out what a 1,400 person or 14, who wants to see the biggest car event that
we haven't
getting around, where do they get in and find out about that?
Just search Downshift on Instagram, on Facebook. Downshift Community is also a really big Facebook page that we run. We post everything there, and of course, jump on World Time Attack if you've got a really cool car you think is ready for the Styles event. Applications are open. Like, click the link, apply.
Send it.
Never know.
Come and hang out with some cool kids.
Yeah, see some cool racing, see some cool kids, meet some celebrities.
Come and hang out.
Thank you.
Mate, the bloody best. Richard, thank you, mate. I'm so delighted to have had you on today. Thank you for this, mate. I'm really, truly grateful.
Thanks for having me.
Mate, it is an absolute pleasure. Well, on that note, we're going to wrap this one up. Catch you next time.